The distant stars cast their cold light through the vast viewport of Station Nexus, a massive space station that housed beings from over 3,000 worlds. In the depths of this metallic labyrinth, where the air hummed with the energy of 100 different life support systems, Enforcer K-47 stood in the shadow of his latest orders. K-47 was not like the others who walked these corridors. Where biological beings required rest, sustenance, and comfort, he needed only the maintenance bays and the occasional neural recalibration. His body was a fusion of organic tissue and synthetic components, crafted by the Alliance's finest engineers to be the perfect weapon. Standing nearly 7 feet tall with muscles that could crush steel and reflexes faster than thought, he was what they called an apex predator, the Alliance's ultimate enforcement tool. His quarters were Spartan, containing only the necessary charging station, a small workbench for his weapons, and a single viewport that looked out into the endless expanse of space. On his arm, the blue tattoo of the Alliance glowed faintly, a bioluminescent mark that signified his allegiance and ownership. He belonged to them body and soul, designed to follow orders without question or hesitation. The communication device on his wrist buzzed with an incoming transmission. K-47 activated it with a thought, and the holographic image of Director Vex materialized before him. The Zephyrian's serpentine form writhed in the blue light, his 4 eyes fixed on K-47 with predatory intensity. Enforcer K-47, Vex's voice was a sibilant whisper that carried the weight of absolute authority. You have a new assignment, Priority Alpha 7. K-47's enhanced neural pathways processed the designation instantly. Priority Alpha 7 meant termination, immediate and absolute. He had carried out such orders dozens of times before, each mission executed with mechanical precision. Target designation Dr. Talene of Xerion Prime. She is currently in hiding on the outer rim colony of Kepler 438e. Intelligence suggests she possesses information that threatens the stability of the Alliance. The holographic display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional image of a humanoid alien with pale blue skin and luminescent markings along her throat and temples. The distinctive features of a Xerioni scientist. Her eyes, large and multifaceted, like cut gems, seemed to stare directly at K-47 even through the recording. Dr. Talene has been conducting unauthorized research, Vex continued. She claims to have discovered evidence that challenges the accepted history of our alliance, particularly regarding the integration of humans into our society. Such claims are not only false, but dangerous. They threaten the delicate balance we have maintained for centuries. K-47 absorbed the information without emotion. He had heard variations of this briefing before, scientists who delved too deep, politicians who questioned too loudly, revolutionaries who dreamed too boldly. All of them had been silenced by his hand. The mission parameters are simple. Vex said, his image flickering slightly as the transmission weakened. Locate Dr. Talene. Eliminate her. Retrieve any research data she may have compiled. Leave no trace of your presence. The official record will show that Dr. Talene disappeared while conducting field research, an unfortunate accident in an unstable system. Understood? K-47 replied, his voice a deep monotone that carried no hint of curiosity or doubt. Mission parameters accepted. Estimated completion time 72 hours. Excellent. Your transport departs in 6 hours. Do not disappoint us, Enforcer. The Alliance depends on your unwavering loyalty. The hologram flickered and died, leaving K-47 alone in his quarters once more. He moved to his weapons cache, a reinforced locker that contained the tools of his trade. His fingers traced over the plasma rifle, the vibroblade, the neural disruptor, each weapon maintained in perfect condition, each one capable of ending a life with terminal efficiency. But as he selected his gear for the mission, something felt different. A strange sensation like static in his neural pathways made him pause. For a moment, a fleeting thought crossed his mind. Why must she die? But the conditioning was too strong, the neural programming too complete. The thought dissolved like frost under a sunrise, leaving only the cold certainty of his orders. 6 hours later, K-47 stood on the bridge of the stealth cruiser Shadowhawk as it dropped out of hyperspace near Kepler 438b. The planet hung before them like a mottled brown and green sphere, its surface scarred by mining operations and industrial complexes. It was a frontier world, one of the thousands that existed on the edge of Alliance space, where laws were more suggestion than commandment, and survival often depended on one's willingness to stay unnoticed. Captain Reynolds, the ship's commanding officer, was one of the few humans in the Alliance's command structure. His weathered face bore the scars of a lifetime spent in the void, and his eyes held the weary acceptance of a man who had seen too much to maintain idealism. "We'll drop you at the coordinates provided by intelligence," Reynolds said, his voice carrying the crisp professionalism of a career officer. "The landing site is approximately 15 kilometers from the last known location of your target. Intelligence suggests she's hiding in the abandoned mining complex known as Facility 7. K-47 nodded, checking his equipment one final time. The neural disruptor was secured to his hip, the plasma rifle mag-locked to his back, and the vibroblade sheathed at his side. His armor, a sleek black material that could stop most conventional weapons, had been calibrated for the planet's atmospheric conditions. "Any questions about the mission?" Reynolds asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. "Negative," K-47 replied. "Mission parameters are clear. Target will be eliminated within 24 hours. As K-47 moved toward the shuttle bay, Reynolds called out to him. Enforcer K-47 turned his helmet's visor, reflecting the captain's image. "For what it's worth," Reynolds said quietly. "I hope you find what you're looking for out there." The words seemed oddly placed, but K-47 dismissed them as human sentimentality. He boarded the shuttle without reply, and minutes later he was descending through the planet's atmosphere toward the surface below. Kepler 438b was a world in transition. Once a thriving mining colony, it had been abandoned when the ore ran out and the corporations moved on to more profitable ventures. Now it existed in a state of managed decay, home to scavengers, refugees, and those who preferred to remain invisible to the Alliance's watchful eye. K-47's shuttle touched down in a clearing several kilometers from Facility 7. The moment he stepped onto the planet's surface, his enhanced senses began cataloging every detail of his environment. The air was thin but breathable, carrying the scent of rust and ozone. In the distance, the skeletal remains of mining equipment jutted from the earth like the bones of some ancient beast. He set off across the barren landscape, his movements silent despite his heat. The terrain was treacherous, loose shale and hidden crevices created a maze of potential hazards, but K-47 navigated it with the sure-footedness of a predator in its element. As he approached Facility 7, K-47 began to notice signs of recent habitation. Solar collectors had been repositioned to catch the light more efficiently. Fresh footprints led from a water reclamation unit to the main complex. Someone was definitely here, and they had been for some time. The facility itself was a sprawling complex of low buildings connected by covered walkways. Most of the structures showed signs of decay, broken windows, collapsed roofs, walls scarred by years of environmental exposure. But the central building appeared to have been recently reinforced, its entrance sealed with a modern security door that hummed with electronic locks. K-47 approached the building with caution, his sensors detecting traces of human technology integrated with Zerioni bioengineering. An unusual combination that spoke of desperate improvisation. As he reached the entrance, he noticed something that made him pause, carved into the doorframe, barely visible. Unless one knew where to look, was a small symbol, a stylized representation of a DNA helix surrounded by stars. It was not a symbol he recognized from his databases, yet something about it seemed familiar, like an echo of a half-remembered dream. For a moment, that strange static in his neural pathways returned stronger this time. He shook his head, dismissing the sensation as a minor malfunction, and prepared to breach the entrance. The security system proved to be more sophisticated than expected. Rather than simply blasting through, K-47 accessed his tactical subroutines and began a careful decryption of the electronic locks. As he worked, he became aware of sounds from within, not just the hum of machinery, but something else. Music. Soft, haunting melody that seemed to blend technological precision with organic harmony. When the locks finally disengaged, K-47 stepped into a world transformed. The interior of the facility had been converted into something between a laboratory and a garden. Bioluminescent plants provided gentle illumination, their leaves glowing with colors that shifted from blue to green to gold. Equipment that appeared to be part technological marvel and part living organism lined the walls, their surfaces pulsing with patterns that suggested both circuitry and biological neural networks. At the center of this remarkable space stood Dr. Tellin. She was not what K-47 had expected. The holographic representation had shown a typical Zerioni impressive, but unremarkable. The reality was far more complex. Dr. Tellin appeared to be a hybrid, possessing both Zerioni and human characteristics. Her skin held the pale blue tint of her Zerioni heritage, but her bone structure was subtly human. Her eyes, those remarkable multifaceted gems, held an intelligence that seemed to see beyond the immediate present. She turned as K-47 entered, showing no surprise at his arrival. "So," she said, her voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate with the very air around them. "The Alliance has finally decided I pose enough of a threat to warrant an apex predator." K-47 raised his plasma rifle, the weapon's targeting system immediately locking onto Dr. Tellin. "Dr. Tellin of Zerion Prime," he said, his voice mechanically precise, "you are charged with crimes against the stability of the Alliance. The penalty is termination. Do you have any final words?" Dr. Tellin smiled, a sad, knowing expression that contained no fear. "Final words. How fitting. Did they tell you what crime I committed, Enforcer? Did they explain why my research threatens them so completely? Your unauthorized investigations threaten the delicate balance of our society," K-47 recited from his briefing. "Your claims about human integration into the Alliance are false and dangerous." "False?" Dr. Tellin moved slightly, not toward or away from him, but in a slow circle that allowed her to maintain eye contact. "What if I told you that everything you've been told about humanity's place in the Alliance is the lie? What if the truth about your own existence is far more profound than you've been allowed to know?" K-47's finger tightened on the trigger, but something made him hesitate. That static in his neural pathways was growing stronger, accompanied by what he could only describe as a resonance, as if Dr. Tellin's words were awakening something that had long been dormant. "You're attempting to delay your termination," he said, but even to his own auditory receptors, the words sounded hollow. "Psychological manipulation is a known terrorist tactic." Dr. Tellin laughed, a sound that was both bitter and sweet. "Look around you, K-47. Do you truly think I'm a terrorist? Do you see weapons here, bombs, instruments of destruction?" K-47's enhanced vision cataloged the room again, this time more carefully. What he had initially dismissed as scientific equipment revealed itself to be something else entirely. The bioluminescent plants were arranged in patterns that seemed to follow mathematical principles. The hybrid machinery displayed holographic representations of DNA sequences, but not just any sequences. These showed patterns of genetic integration between species that should have been impossible. "What is this place?" he asked, though he maintained his weapon's aim. "This," Dr. Tellin said, spreading her arms to encompass the entire laboratory, "is the truth. This is evidence of the greatest conspiracy in galactic history. This is proof that the Alliance has been built on a lie so fundamental that its revelation would shatter everything they've constructed." She moved to one of the biomechanical interfaces and activated it with a gesture. The air above the device shimmered and a three-dimensional timeline appeared stretching from the far past into the projected future. 300 years ago, Dr. Tallinn began, when humanity first encountered galactic civilization, we were not the primitive species the Alliance claims we were. We were already exploring other ways of existence, other forms of life, other possibilities of consciousness. The timeline shifted, showing what appeared to be Earth, but not the Earth from history books. This was a world where human technology had developed along biological lines rather than purely mechanical ones. Cities that grew rather than being built. Vehicles that breathed rather than burned fuel. Humans who had learned to integrate with their technology rather than simply use it. But the Alliance couldn't allow such a radical deviation from their established order. Dr. Tallinn continued. So they intervened. They suppressed this branch of human development, forced us into their mold, made us conform to their understanding of what civilization should be. K-47's weapon remained steady, but his attention was completely captured by the display. The images showed human settlements that existed in harmony with their environment, humans who had modified themselves to survive in impossible conditions, humans who had developed technologies that seemed to bridge the gap between organic and synthetic life. This is propaganda, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. The Alliance records show what they want them to show. Dr. Tallinn interrupted. But the truth leaves traces. Genetic markers that can't be erased. Historical artifacts that tell a different story. And most importantly, evidence in the Alliance's own enforcement protocols. She touched another control, and the display zoomed in on a section showing humanoid figures with characteristics that seemed oddly familiar. Their proportions, their capabilities, their fusion of organic and synthetic components. You know what you're looking at, don't you, K-47? Dr. Tallinn asked softly. You're looking at the apex predators. You're looking at yourself. The static in K-47's neural pathways suddenly exploded into clarity. Memories, or were they programmed responses, flooded his consciousness. Images of laboratories where beings like himself were created, not just as weapons, but as a bridge between what humanity could have been and what the Alliance had forced them to become. We are not mistakes, Dr. Tallinn continued, her voice growing stronger. We are not aberrations. We are the living proof of what the Alliance stole from humanity. They took our potential, our future, our very identity, and they used it to create servants for their empire. K-47's weapon began to waver. This is not possible. My records, my training, my purpose. Your purpose is what they made it, Dr. Tallinn said, stepping closer. But your nature, your true nature, is something else entirely. You are not just a weapon, K-47. You are a living reminder of humanity's stolen destiny. The timeline shifted again, showing the development of the Apex Predator program. K-47 saw himself and others like him being created in secret facilities, their genetic template shades derived from the suppressed human evolutionary path. They had been designed to be the perfect servants, human enough to pass among humans, advanced enough to enforce the Alliance's will, but programmed to never question their place in the order of things. Why? K-47 asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Why show me this? Because you deserve to know the truth, Dr. Tallinn replied. Because you deserve the choice they never gave you. Because somewhere in your neural patterns, in your genetic code, in the very fusion of organic and synthetic that makes you who you are, lies the potential for something greater than servitude. K-47 straightened his weapon, now pointing at the floor. What choice? What are you offering me? Dr. Tallinn moved to another station and activated a different display. This one showed star charts, hidden colonies, research facilities that existed outside Alliance control. There are others, she said. Humans who escaped the Alliance's suppression, apex predators who broke their conditioning and found their true purpose. Scientists like myself who have pieced together the truth. We call ourselves the synthesis, those who remember what was lost and work to restore it. And if I refuse? K-47 asked. If I complete my mission as instructed? Dr. Tellen's expression was one of infinite sadness. Then you return to your life of servitude and the truth dies with me. You continue to be what they made you, a weapon pointed at the heart of your own people. You continue to enforce the system that stole your species' future. K-47 found himself at a crossroads that felt more profound than any he had ever faced. The weight of his conditioning told him to complete the mission to eliminate this source of destabilizing information and return to his quarters on Station Nexus. But something deeper, something that resonated with the very core of his being, urged him toward a different path. He raised his weapon again, and Dr. Talon showed no fear. I understand, she said simply. If you must. No, K-47 said, and the words seemed to come from somewhere he didn't know existed within him. You don't understand. And then, in a moment that would reshape everything he believed about himself, K-47 released his weapon. The plasma rifle clattered to the floor, its power cell automatically disengaging for safety. He looked at his hands that had killed so many, and for the first time since his activation he saw them as they truly were. Not just tools of destruction, but instruments of potential. Without fully understanding why K-47 lowered himself to one knee before Dr. Tellen. The action felt both unprecedented and completely natural, as if some part of him had always known this moment would come. I choose, he said, and each word felt like breaking free from chains he hadn't known existed. I choose truth over loyalty. I choose my nature over my programming. I choose to be what I am rather than what they made me. Dr. Tellen's eyes filled with an emotion that transcended species, relief, hope, joy, and something deeper. She reached out and placed her hand on K-47's shoulder. Welcome, she said, to the true war. The war for identity, for truth, for the future that was stolen from us all. As K-47 rose to his feet, he felt the change beginning at a molecular level, not a physical transformation, but something more fundamental. The neural pathways that had once carried only the Alliance's programming were now opening to new possibilities. The genetic potential that had been suppressed was awakening. What happens now? He asked. Dr. Tellen smiled, and her expression held the promise of revolution. Now we return to Station Nexus. We gather others like yourself who are ready to learn the truth. We build our strength in secret, and when the time is right, we show the galaxy what the Alliance has hidden from them. She moved to a concealed panel in the wall and withdrew a data crystal that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. Everything I've discovered is here, she said, offering it to him. The suppressed history, the genetic evidence, the locations of our hidden colonies. Guard it with your life, it's the key to our liberation. K-47 accepted the crystal, feeling its warm weight in his palm. They will come looking for you when I don't return with proof of your death. Let them come, Dr. Tellen said with quiet confidence. By the time they arrive, we'll be long gone. You see, K-47, you're not the only apex predator to have found their way to the truth. Others have been here before you. Others have made the same choice you've made tonight. As if summoned by her words, figures emerged from the shadows of the laboratory. K-47's enhanced senses immediately identified them. Two more apex predators, their original Alliance markings now covered with the same DNA spiral symbol he had seen on the door. K-47, said the first, a female enforcer, whose designation showed as L-23. Welcome to the synthesis. I was hoping you'd make the right choice. The second, R-91, nodded in greeting. The conditioning is strong, but the truth is stronger. You'll find the transition difficult at first, but you're not alone. K-47 looked at these beings who were like him, created to be weapons, but choosing to be something more. How many of us are there? More than the Alliance realizes, Dr. Tellen replied. And the number grows every day. Each apex predator who learns the truth becomes a recruiter for others. Each scientific discovery adds to our foundation. Each act of rebellion weakens their control. She moved toward what appeared to be a blank wall, but her touch revealed a hidden passage. Come. We have much to discuss, and little time. The shuttle I detected brought you here, which means the Alliance will expect regular check-ins. We need to be gone before they realize something has gone wrong. As they moved through the passage, K-47 found himself walking beside L-23. How long have you been free? He asked. 18 months, she replied. I was sent to eliminate a human colony that was developing unauthorized biotechnology. When I arrived, I found they weren't developing weapons, they were healing people. Children born with genetic damage from Alliance industrial practices. Elders suffering from diseases that only affected humans in Alliance-controlled space. Her voice carried pain and anger. They were saving lives, and I was ordered to end them. That night, I made the same choice you did. I couldn't be their weapon anymore. For 9101 overhead and added, for me, it was different. I was investigating a supposed terrorist cell on a mining station. What I found were Alliance officials illegally harvesting genetic material from non-human species. They were using it to create new apex predators without the consent of the donor species. When I tried to report it, I learned that it wasn't unauthorized, it was policy. That's when I knew the Alliance wasn't what they claimed to be. They traveled through a network of tunnels that had clearly been modified and expanded beyond their original purpose. Bioluminescent guides lights led them deeper into the facility toward what K-47 suspected was a concealed hangar. The shuttle that brought you here, Dr. Tellin said, as they walked, it's equipped with Alliance tracking technology, isn't it? K-47 nodded. Standard procedure. They'll know the precise moment I attempt to leave the planet. Then we'll have to be creative, she said with a smile that suggested she had anticipated this problem. Tell me, K-47, have you ever wondered why apex predators require such unique transport protocols? He considered the question. Apex predators did indeed have special transport requirements, shielded compartments, isolated life support systems, restricted access protocols. For security, he said, reciting the official explanation, to prevent enemies from learning about our capabilities. Partially correct, Dr. Tellin agreed. But the real reason is that your modified biology interacts with standard Alliance technology in unpredictable ways. Your neural implants emit patterns that can interfere with navigation systems. Your genetic modifications produce bioelectrical fields that can disrupt communication arrays. As they rounded a corner, K-47 saw their destination, a hangar bay containing a ship unlike anything in the Alliance fleet. It appeared to be grown rather than built, its curved hull pulsing with organic patterns that reminded him of the modified technology in Dr. Tellin's laboratory. This, she said proudly, is what human biotechnology could have become. A ship that's not just a vessel, but a partner. Its navigation system is biological, making it invisible to Alliance tracking. Its hull can adapt to energy signatures, making it appear as space debris to their sensors. K-47 approached the ship with fascination. Up close, he could see that its surface was covered in what appeared to be scales or feathers, each one a different component of the ship's systems. And this will get us to Station Nexus undetected. Better than undetected, R91 said with a grin. It will appear to their sensors as a routine cargo hauler. We've done this before apex predators, returning from missions reporting successful eliminations, maintaining their cover while building our network from within. As they boarded the ship, K-47 marveled at the interior. The corridors seemed to adjust to accommodate their passage walls, shifting subtly to provide optimal space and comfort. The bridge was a fusion of technology and biology that defied easy categorization surfaces that responded to touch with both mechanical precision and organic fluidity. Take your station, Dr. Tellin instructed, indicating a position that seemed designed specifically for him. As K-47 approached the console, modified itself controls emerging from what had appeared to be smooth surface. "This will be your new identity," L-23 explained, handing him a datapad. "To the Alliance, you are returning from a successful mission. Dr. Talene died in a laboratory accident, an explosion caused by unstable equipment. You recovered her research and eliminated all traces of her work." K-47 reviewed the fabricated mission report, noting the attention to detail. "And the real data," Dr. Tellen held up the crystal she had given him earlier. "Hidden in the one place the Alliance would never think to look, your own neural storage. We've developed techniques to encode data within the quantum fluctuations of your thought patterns. To any scanner, it will appear as in normal memory engrams." The ship's biological systems came online with a sound like a massive organism awakening. K-47 felt the vessel around him in a way he had never experienced before, not just as a machine he was operating, but as an entity he was communicating with. "It's incredible," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "This is what they stole from us," Dr. Tillin said firmly. "The ability to create technology that enhances life rather than controlling it. The capacity to build tools that work with us instead of forcing us to conform to them." As the ship lifted off, K-47 found himself thinking about the implications of everything he had learned. The Alliance, the organization he had served without question for his entire existence, was built on a lie. Humanity's true potential had been deliberately suppressed, channeled into forms that served the existing power structure. "When we reach Station Nexus," he asked, "what's my role in this revolution?" Dr. Tellen moved to stand beside him, her expression serious but hopeful. "You become what you were truly meant to be, not an enforcer of their will, but a guardian of our future. You'll identify other apex predators who are ready to learn the truth. You'll protect human settlements that are developing in secret. You'll help us build the network that will eventually challenge the Alliance openly." The journey to Station Nexus passed in a blur of deep discussions and profound revelations. K-47 learned about the hidden colonies where humans lived according to their true nature, developing technologies and societies that the Alliance had forbidden. He discovered that the genetic modifications that made apex predators so effective were actually based on humanity's suppressed evolutionary potential abilities that had been bred out of the general population but preserved in their modified servants. Most importantly, he learned about the plan they called the Awakening, a coordinated effort to simultaneously reveal the truth to the galaxy while demonstrating humanity's true capabilities. It would require apex predators in positions throughout the Alliance human colonies ready to defend themselves and scientific evidence so overwhelming that denial would be impossible. As they approached the coordinates where K-47 would transfer back to his original shuttle, Dr. Tillin handed him one final gift, a communication device disguised as a standard Alliance data crystal. "This will connect you to our network," she explained. "Use it only when absolutely necessary and only when you're certain you're unobserved. The synthesis has existed for over a century, but we've survived by being patient and careful." K-47 secured the device in a hidden compartment of his armor alongside the data crystal containing Dr. Tellen's research. "When will I see you again?" "Sooner than you might think," she replied with that enigmatic smile. "The synthesis operates throughout Alliance space. You'll find us in the most unlikely places, servants who are more than they appear, scientists who ask dangerous questions, citizens who remember more than they should." As K-47 prepared to transfer to his original shuttle, the BioShio sealed and modified the craft to show signs of an explosion. Debris from Dr. Tillin's supposed death was carefully arranged to tell the story the Alliance expected to hear. "Remember," L-23 said, as K-47 prepared to leave, "the conditioning will reassert itself. Your neural pathways have been modified since creation to suppress independent thought. But now you know the truth, and that knowledge creates new pathways. Trust in what you've learned. Trust in what you've chosen." The transfer was seamless. K-47 found himself back in the familiar confines of his Alliance shuttle, surrounded by the sterile functionality he had always known. But now the contrast was stark. Where once he had seen efficient design, he now saw limitation. Where once he had felt security, he now felt confinement. The journey back to Station Nexus was a test of will unlike any K-47 had faced before. His Alliance conditioning kept reasserting itself like background noise that threatened to drown out his new understanding. Several times he found himself reaching for his weapons to check their status, his mind defaulting to the mission parameters that had once been his entire world. But each time the conditioning attempted to reclaim him, he remembered Dr. Tellin's laboratory. He remembered the truth hidden in biological starlight. He remembered the choice he had made to kneel rather than kill. As his shuttle approached Station Nexus, K-47 composed his after-action report. According to the Alliance's records, Dr. Tellin was dead. Her research destroyed the threat to galactic stability eliminated. It was a perfect mission, exactly what they expected from their apex predator. The docking procedures were routine. K-47's shuttle was guided into Bay 47, the same location from which he had departed. As he powered down the systems and prepared to disembark, a new voice crackled through the communications system. Enforcer K-47 report to Briefing Room Alpha immediately upon disembarkation. Director Vex wishes to speak with you. K-47 acknowledged the order with his usual mechanical precision, but his enhanced senses detected something unusual in the transmission. A slight fluctuation in the encoding, a pattern of redundant data that meant nothing to standard Alliance equipment, but might be significant to someone with his capabilities. As he walked through the familiar corridors of Station Nexus, K-47 found himself seeing everything with new eyes. The humans who moved through these spaces: service technicians, administrative staff, security personnel. Did they know the truth about their people's history, or were they as deceived as he had been? Briefing Room Alpha was located in the high-security section of the station, requiring multiple authentication protocols to access. As K-47 approached the final checkpoint, he noticed something that made him pause. Carved into the doorframe with the precision of a molecular knife, almost invisible, unless one knew where to look, was the same DNA spiral symbol he had seen on Dr. Tellin's laboratory. Inside the briefing room, Director Vex waited with his usual serpentine patience. Behind him, a large display showed what appeared to be standard mission analysis data. But K-47's enhanced vision detected subtle patterns in the information that suggested a deeper layer of meaning. Enforcer K-47. Vex greeted him, his four eyes tracking independently as they examined every aspect of K-47's appearance. Your mission was successful, I trust. Affirmative. K-47 replied, transmitting his fabricated mission report. Target eliminated. Research data destroyed. No trace of unauthorized scientific activity remains. Vex nodded, but his expression was unreadable. Excellent. And you encountered no unusual circumstances during this mission? K-47's neural pathways analyzed the question, detecting layers of meaning that went beyond standard debriefing protocol. Define unusual, Director. Come now, K-47. Vex said, his voice taking on a tone that sounded almost conspiratorial. You are an apex predator, one of our finest. I'm certain you noticed things about Dr. Tellin and her facility that went beyond the standard mission briefing. The static in K-47's neural pathways returned, but this time it felt different, not like malfunction, but like recognition. He maintained his usual expressionless demeanor while his enhanced cognition processed the possibilities. Dr. Tellin's laboratory showed signs of advanced biotechnological integration, he reported carefully. Her research appeared to focus on genetic synthesis between species, specifically the integration of human and non-human biological systems. Vex's expression shifted slightly, one of his eyes focusing more intently on K-47. And what did you make of such research? It represented a significant advancement in biotechnology, K-47 replied, choosing his words with extreme care. Such research could have applications in improving Alliance enforcement protocols. Indeed, Vex mused, moving closer. Tell me, Enforcer, in all your years of service, Have you ever wondered about your own origins? About how exactly the Apex Predator program developed such remarkably effective integration of organic and synthetic systems? K-47's processing centers worked at maximum capacity. Was this genuine curiosity from his superior? Or was this some kind of test? Had his absence been monitored more carefully than he realized? Was this a trap designed to reveal any deviation from his programming? I have not, he lied smoothly. My purpose is to serve the Alliance. The details of my creation are irrelevant to mission effectiveness. Vex nodded slowly, but his eyes never left K-47's face. Of course. Duty before curiosity, a mark of proper conditioning. He paused, then added, though I should mention that we've received some interesting reports lately. Other apex predators requesting extended leave, asking unusual questions showing anomalous behavior patterns. The words hung in the air like a challenge, and K-47 realized with crystal clarity that he was at another crossroads. His choice in Dr. Tellen's laboratory had been the first step, but this conversation would determine whether he could maintain his cover within the Alliance long enough to be useful to the synthesis. Anomalous how? He asked, allowing just the right amount of professional concern to color his voice. Oh, various things, Vex replied casually, but K-47 detected the trap in the Zephyrian's tone, requesting access to historical archives, asking about the early days of human integration into the Alliance. Some have even been caught in restricted sections, claiming to be investigating security breaches. Vex moved to the main display and activated a new set of information. K-47's enhanced vision immediately identified the individuals shown 3 apex predators, their designation codes visible alongside their images. These 3 have been detained for questioning, Vex continued. Enforcers L-23, R-91, and M-15, perhaps you know them. K-47's internal systems screamed warnings. L-23 and R-91 were the apex predators he had just met, which meant the Alliance was aware of the synthesis network, at least partially. But M-15 was unknown to him, which suggested the network was larger than even he had been told. I am familiar with their service records, K-47 said neutrally. All highly effective agents with exemplary performance metrics. Indeed they were, Vex agreed. Until they weren't. The unfortunate thing about perfection, K-47, is that any deviation becomes immediately apparent. The Zephyrian's tail writhed behind him, a sign of agitation that K-47 filed away for future reference. Which brings me to the real reason I wanted to speak with you. You see, we have reason to believe that Dr. Tellen was not working alone. Intelligence suggests there may be others, a network of individuals, spreading dangerous ideas about human potential and Alliance history. K-47 remained motionless, his enhanced cognition racing through possibilities. How much did they know? How much did they suspect? And most importantly, was this conversation being monitored by others? What are your orders, Director? He asked. Vex smiled an expression that appeared decidedly predatory on his serpentine features. Your orders are simple. You will be given a new assignment to investigate this potential network. Use whatever methods you deem necessary. Report only to me. And if you discover any Alliance personnel who have been compromised by these dangerous ideas, he let the implication hang in the air. Understood, K-47 replied. Although I should point out that investigating other apex predators will require special authorization codes. Already arranged, Vex said, transmitting the codes directly to K-47's neural implant. You now have Level 7 investigative authority. You can access any file question, any personnel go anywhere in Alliance space that your investigation requires. K-47 absorbed this information, recognizing both the opportunity and the danger it represented. With such authorization, he could learn more about the extent of both the Alliance's knowledge and the synthesis network. But it also meant he would be under intense scrutiny. One more thing, Vex added as K-47 prepared to leave. The Alliance Council has decided that the Apex Predator program requires refinement. We're implementing new neural protocols designed to enhance loyalty and reduce the possibility of deviation. All active enforcers are to report for updated conditioning within the next 72 hours. The words hit K-47 like a physical blow. Enhanced conditioning meant they would discover everything: his conversation with Dr. Tellin, his change in thinking, his connection to the synthesis. Worse, they would erase it all, returning him to the mechanical obedience of his original programming. "When is my appointment scheduled?" he asked, proud that his voice showed no trace of the alarm he felt. "Tomorrow at 0800, Vex replied. "Report to Medical Bay 7. Dr. Jara will be handling the procedure personally." K-47 nodded and moved toward the exit, his mind racing with desperate calculations. 23 hours, that was all the time he had before his new understanding would be ripped away, before he would return to being nothing more than a weapon in the Alliance's arsenal. As he left the briefing room, K-47 noticed something that made his enhanced systems alert to maximum awareness. In the reflection of the polished surface near the door, he caught a glimpse of figures in the room behind him. Vex was not alone. There were others present, hidden from direct view, but visible in the complex interplay of reflections. And one of those figures bore the distinctive markings of a human officer in the Alliance hierarchy. K-47 maintained his steady pace as he moved through the corridors, but his mind was in chaos. Everything he thought he understood about the situation had just become infinitely more complex. The Alliance knew more than they were saying. The synthesis was compromised, and somewhere in the labyrinth of Station Nexus, other human personnel were playing games within games. He returned to his quarters and initiated his usual post-mission protocols, knowing that his behavior was being analyzed for any deviation from standard patterns. But while his actions remained mechanical and predictable, his enhanced cognition was working through problems at superhuman speed. 23 hours to find answers. 23 hours to discover the true extent of Alliance surveillance. 23 hours to contact the synthesis and warn them of the danger. And most importantly, 23 hours to find a way to resist the neural conditioning that would steal away everything he had discovered about himself and his people. As Station Nexus continued its eternal rotation, round the central star, K-47 began to formulate a plan that would require every capability he possessed, both those the Alliance had given him and those he was only beginning to discover. The revolution Dr. Tallien had spoken of was closer than anyone realized. And it would begin not with a battle, but with a choice: the choice to resist, to remember, and to remain true to what he had learned about himself in a hidden laboratory on a forgotten world. The apex predator was about to become something his creators never intended: a guardian of truth, a protector of potential, and a weapon turned against the very system that had forged him. The real war was just beginning.